That's good hot chocolate. Oh, hello there, friend. I hope you're enjoying this wonderful holiday season. But while you're out shopping for gifts and spending time with loved ones, don't forget the true meaning of the season. That's right, the Homies Award ceremony. This year, you, yes, you silly, will have a very important role to play. You see, the winner of the Homies Award ceremony will be decided by each and every one of you precious little bundles of joy. You're incredible. So fuck those presents, except for Patreon. Fuck that fruitcake, it's nasty. And fuck your family, not in the Game of Thrones way. Voting for the Homies Award will begin December 22nd and will go through December 30th. Vote for fuck's sake. Simply check the podcast show notes or any of our social media platforms for the link to voting. Thanks, friend. Thanks. Season's greeting from the superhero homies. Season's greetings indeed.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Because the episode we recorded for 4 hours last night will certainly not hit before this one.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the most part, there's still a chance that they could hear what we recorded 24 hours ago first, depending on like their order of operations.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
They may pull up, their whatever their preferred podcasting platform is, because we own like all of them,
right?
And be like, Ironman, no. Oh, 2023 in review, part 1.
Oh,
Click,
yeah. So that might be the move for most people.
And for once, you would never hear this, but if you skipped over this, we would completely forgive you for it.
Yeah.
So,
not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but one question that I did have in mind that we're definitely going to delve into later is if your perspective on Iron Man 3 has shifted any. And I'm curious to get there and to see what your main takeaways are, having watched the movie once again.
Yeah, we can answer that question. It's not a problem.
Yeah,
I'm sure we can think of something.
We might be able to come up with a suggestion or two.
Yeah.
But before we get there, man, so how about I was putting together like the questionnaire for the Homies Award,
right?
And I can't put it out until the 21st technically, because that's when Aquaman 2 comes out. And, I was like, well, in good faith, I can't put it out yet because that would give Aquaman 2 a disadvantage.
Right.
But then I realized, well, shit, I technically now have to push it back to the 22nd. And I have to go back and reevaluate some of the Homies Awards categories again, because What If Season 2 premieres on December 22nd.
Of Invincible?
No, What If.
Oh, it does.
It does.
Oh, so that's why it's not on the slate for next year, because it's coming out this year. It's coming out
this year, yeah. And they're
I'll be honest, man. I feel like What If. This would be my decision. Would be to push What If and have it be involved in the 2024 awards, because you're only going to get maximum of 2 episodes.
You're getting 9. They're releasing 1 every day.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So in that case, literally you're going to have to push it back and do it like first week of January then.
Well,
people got to have time to vote.
They got to have time to vote. But, technically, like I said, voting, like, if you only want to watch 3 episodes of What If and decide that's your shit and you want to vote for that, so be it. Or if you want to wait till you see all 9 episodes, that means you watch the last one on the 30th, which is the last day that you can vote. So yeah, it's gonna be cutting it close.
I guess it makes sense. Yeah, that's a crazy That's a fucking crazy release schedule.
It is, yeah. And so they took what we normally do for comic news and they doubly fucked us
in advance.
Yeah.
They scheduled the fucking
right.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm really excited to be here live for it this year.
Oh yeah.
It's the most prestigious award you could win.
Man, it's incredible. Yeah.
Mostly because like Marvel doesn't pay us. Or Disney at all.
Right.
I mean, and that's not to say, Mr. Mouse, that you couldn't.
Right.
Because if you pay us, we'll say whatever you want. But I feel like you are used to that arrangement. So
that is true. Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, we know.
Yeah, but how's that been going for you, Disney, like lately?
I mean, I could think of some better places they could spend their money.
Oh, for sure.
I could also think of some worse places that they already are spending it.
Also true.
Yeah, so I mean, there is that, but I am very excited about it. I mean, something about that award season, man, is just really good. I still got a bit of a high from the VGAs because it went almost exactly how I wanted it to go. Baldur's Gate stepped in, and just something about Microsoft having called Baldur's Gate a Stadia level indie game.
When did that happen?
So when that big FTC investigation into the Activision acquisition happened, Microsoft in part of Discovery had to like turn over like everything. And one of the things that was in there was this chart, and it was all the games that they could secure for Game Pass, and then like how much it was going to cost them.
Yeah.
And like Jedi Survivor was one of the ones they were really trying to get for Game Pass day one, and like EA wanted like an astronomical amount. I think it was like $18 million or something.
Yeah, because that was not on Game Pass day one. Yeah,
no. And so like so like Baldur's Gate was like at the bottom. I'm pretty sure Larian would have let them get it on Game Pass day one for like $400,000.
Wow.
And they were like Stadia level indie RPG, not interested in the comments. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, and so for it to come out and just wipe the floor with all the major publishers, I mean, we had all the bullshit in there. We had the fucking carbon copy Zelda game. I'm already on a roll tonight. Mario Wonder. Don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything bad about that. I think it's a happy, fun game. But I don't think it was Game of the Year this year. I don't think it was close. Tears of the Kingdom to me is just Breath of the Wild with building, and Breath of the Wild was never impressive to begin with.
Would have been impressive, I think, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
more impressive.
Yeah, and Nintendo hasn't learned its lesson. So Digital Foundry, you familiar with them?
Only by name.
So they are like very, very into your like. These guys are like tech experts. Like they can explain shit to you about like graphics and stuff that I've like nod along with them and pretend to understand, and like I'm a fucking systems engineer.
Right.
So like, these guys like really know their shit. They analyze stuff down to the very technical level. They often do performance comparisons between, all the different like release platforms of something, and, to let the consumer judge like what platform they want to get it on. And they said that the likelihood of the Switch 2, which is not even announced yet, but like the dev kits are out there, the likelihood of the Switch 2 being able to run GTA 6 is like
zero.
Basically zero.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what are you guys fucking thinking?
Right.
That like a system you haven't released yet
won't be able
to run the most what is going to be the most popular game
right
in the year that it like over a year from now when it comes out.
Yeah, that's okay. So I know that Nintendo's in their own lane and they make buku money all on their own.
Right. Yeah, they do.
But you can always make more,
Right.
And so, and I get it that, certain system specs or requirements aren't really their dig. They don't really care for that. Like they stay in their own little lane. But what's the problem with making it even more expansive? Like I don't see a problem if Nintendo kind of dials in some of the gimmicks and just kind of beefs up their system some more, so that not just for perspective sakes, people would view Nintendo as like a true third party option, but so
like
that
they used to.
Like they used to, yeah. But yeah, they kind of got away with the gimmicks, and that kind of became their shtick.
And the thing is, I'm not saying that the Switch is a bad console. It's not for me. But you got to think that they got to be feeling some kind of pressure from, like, now though. We have like the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And the Steam Deck can run fucking God of War. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's not that much more expensive.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be less expensive than the new Switch. And like, odds are that these next gen Steam Decks that they just announced, which are going to come out before the Switch too, they probably will be able to run GTA 6. And the reason that Digital Foundry said that they may not be able to run it is GTA 6 is very likely going to be the first AAA game that does all the lighting in the game is ray traced, and there won't be any alternative for that.
Damn.
Whereas like today, it's like there's really no games like that. There are games that have ray tracing, but they all have a traditional lighting model, and you have the option to turn it on. Whereas with GTA 6, I believe the engine is just baked in to do ray trace lighting, and like that's how it does it. And if your system can't handle that, then you got to get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Like
speaking of GTA 6, something that I think a lot of people don't know or maybe forget is that with every one of their trailers since GTA 3, it's been in-game footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks incredible. Like what they're doing with that engine is going to be pushing the shit out of the PS5 and the Series X.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess the Series S, like they're going to get away with it from scaling the resolution down. But man, I mean, it's, and then a year later in 2026, we're going to get the PC release, and that shit's going to have everybody's computer screaming. People are going to be going out and doing upgrades and stuff. I'm going to be one of those people.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait. It's going to be incredible. It's one of those things where, like, I didn't need a trailer, especially this far out. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it didn't really matter what was in it. People are going to buy it anyway,
Well, obviously, I think they intended to release it at the Game Awards.
Yeah. But
it
someone at YouTube said no, dog.
yeah. It was. I mean, it looks really cool. I think this may be the first time I've ever been hyped for a GTA game, especially this far out. But it's going to be Florida the game,
Yeah. I mean, and that is kind of interesting how, like, because most of the games are always kind of almost like a South Park level of parody of things that are reality. Where this is just straight up Florida reality,
Yeah. And I do have to say, too, is that, I've got to get a dig in here, but I'm actually really happy that Sony didn't walk away with anything at all. Like, it just, and nothing against Spider-Man 2 at all, like, I think it was way too little game for the price. But that's kind of Sony's mantra now. Is like, just give us the 70 and shut the fuck up. But I think it's interesting how that ebb and flow kind of goes, right? Where it's like with the 360 era, Microsoft got all arrogant, and then they came out with that disastrous Xbox One release, and then Sony, the PS4, like kind of started slow, but then it took the fuck off, and then it became like this crazy selling console, and then it almost feels like it took a little while after this recent console launch. Because at the beginning, you couldn't get either one.
Yeah, couldn't get one. Yeah. A lot of it was due to like the pandemic, also.
Right. Yeah, and then like the increase in gaming during the pandemic went through the roof too, because that was one of the things you could actually still do.
Right.
And yeah, man, like it feels like it's coming back around where now Sony has gotten all arrogant, and Microsoft is like really trying to like get stuff done, because they had quite a few games at the Game Awards. They walked away with Forza. Hi-Fi Rush was a really cool thing that they just dropped, like, surprise, like, hey, we made this game. You can download it right now. And that got a lot of hype. I mean, it was a fun little game. It was.
Yeah, I enjoyed that game.
Yeah, it was basically a modern, like, Jet Set Radio,
Yeah. I don't know, man. I kind of view Sony and Microsoft as like a current day MCU and DC representation, where it's like I'm waiting for both of them to stop stumbling and get off the ground.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. Where
I mean, Microsoft botched all their major releases this year. Except for
Redfall, except for Forza.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but Redfall, that was one that I had pre-installed, ready to go, and we saw how that went.
I mean, so far, I'll be honest. I really think that the way that this whole thing is going to go is that, when Microsoft got bought Bethesda, they were like, okay, well, you're going to be under us, but you're still going to be your own thing. Like Todd Howard is still running the show over there.
Yeah.
And I think Phil Spencer is he's going to have to, just crack his damn knuckles and be like, listen, we're taking, assuming direct control. You have to go full Harbinger on their ass because it's clear that the studio is being super mismanaged. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, are like, hey, worst thing that could happen is like Starfield will come out and suck, but like the modders will fix it in 10 years, But that may not happen. Most of the major modding community from Skyrim has been like, we took one look at Starfield and we're not fucking with it. So a lot of those modders that have all that experience working with their engine, are just like, we're not going to. This game's not worth it. We're not going to do it. So,
and I don't blame them. Like, don't look to the modding community to fix your game for them to have fun.
Well, they've been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it that only enhanced your experiences.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
for the most.
It was mainly like there were all these bugs, and the modding community would fix those.
Yeah.
And then they would adjust some things and make some quality of life improvements that maybe Bethesda's not going to make. Whereas this is just like, this game was lacking major features day one, and there's no roadmap. There's no real communication from them about patches or, I don't know. But here's the thing about Starfield. It's making buku money despite being terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, that just goes to show like the clout that Bethesda has, and it is real,
Yeah. So,
but yeah, man. So we are here for a very special occasion of sorts.
that was all the happy talk that you're going to get from me tonight.
Come on, it's the holiday season. We're here to discuss a Marvel holiday miracle.
The Guardians Christmas special? Because if we're here to talk about that,
You were close, almost. Something that is near in quality. Okay. Has a different charming leading man. All right. And this is one of the most frustrating things about it. And I've had to deal with this with several MCU movies that I disagree with in terms of quality, but here comes the but it made $1 billion gang,
right? Yeah,
those people.
So did Captain Marvel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let me just say this. I have we're here to talk to not celebrate, but to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of Iron Man 3 releasing.
Yeah, Iron Man 3 it turned 10 years old earlier this year.
We're here to acknowledge and note that.
To acknowledge, note it, and I think that neither one of us liked the movie when it came out, and there are people out there who claim to like it, and I haven't seen this movie since 2018. That was the last time I saw it, and that was just to review it for the podcast. But since then, have things changed? Have sensibilities changed? Has there been like a shifting of viewpoints in terms of how you look at something and rate it or review it? Have your viewpoints at all on Iron Man 3 changed? By the way, full spoiler alerts going forward.
I am not a dog person. Not a lover of the canines. Not saying that there are not certain people's dogs that I like. It's like kids, right? It's like, okay, well, this person's kid is all right, but as a whole, And I'm the same way with dogs, right? It's just not a species I have a specific endearment for. So know the weight of when I say this is that I would not call this movie dog shit because I've never seen one of the little fucks that I thought was so cantankerous that something this vial could be excreted from its anus. So, with that, I will just say that this movie was terrible in 2013. It was terrible when I watched it again around 2016-ish. And thanks to you, I have now seen it a third time. And it was still, I mean, I think it is still bottom of the barrel MCU. And I will say that I like it less than Captain Marvel. I like it less than The Marvels for sure, because I thought The Marvels was better than Captain Marvel. I like it less than Eternals. I think the only MCU projects that I like less than this are Thor 4. And Thor 4 has, like, there are a few moments in Thor 4 that I genuinely enjoy. There are no moments in this movie that I genuinely enjoy. But there are far more moments in Thor 4 that I actively fucking detest. Whereas there's just, this movie is a whole lot of meh, right? And then a couple of those moments. But Thor 4 is just like, you know, I was already crying in the corner, and then Taika Waititi came over and beat the shit out of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas this movie kicked off the AAA stream of the subverting expectations shit that we dealt with for nearly a decade after that.
Yeah. And
it was a huge success with the fucking critics. But it was not a huge success with the audiences.
Right. And
this movie is very similar to fucking Captain Marvel, because just like Captain Marvel was gonna make $1 billion, so was this one.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, the MCU, you think it was hot between Infinity War and Endgame, and it was, don't get me wrong, it was. But it was a different kind of thing then, because like Infinity War to Endgame, it was like, oh my God, they really did this. We were all just like, everyone was super anticipating this moment. But if you rewind back to 2013, folks, the first Avengers had hit.
Yeah.
None of us had ever experienced anything like that.
Yes.
Like, I knew very little about the Avengers on the page before this. That movie came out, and I suddenly wanted to know everything.
Right.
I could not stop fucking Googling, you know, or talking to you about it, and everybody was just wanting to know, what are they going to do next? Like, like prior to Avengers 1, it was like, oh, okay, Thor's coming next. All right. Oh, okay, they gave us a little teaser, now we're going to get Captain America.
Yep.
And then in the Captain America, they dropped that fucking Avengers trailer. And we were all like, oh shit, what's going to happen? And then Avengers came out, they dropped that Thanos scene on us, fade to black, roll credits, and we were all just like, what are they going to do?
Right.
You know, is Thanos going to be in the next movie? Like, you know, and then they're like, here comes Iron Man 3, and we think we're going to get this crazy fucking, and all the trailers. Go back and watch the trailers.
Oh, yeah.
All this, we think this is going to be this crazy Mandarin versus Iron Man. Like, just, like, basically like The Dark Knight Rises, but with Mandarin instead of Bane, and with fucking Iron Man instead of Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? And we're like, okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. And then what we got is this. Yeah. And this was the first time that the MCU ever really disappointed me.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Because I don't love First Avenger. I just think it's okay.
Referring to Captain America.
Yeah. I just think it's okay.
Yeah. It's a serviceable origin for Steve.
Yeah, and his origin's not that. It's just not that interesting to me. You know, like certain aspects of it are, but it's just kind of like, where do you go from there? You know, it's certainly way better than the fucking 1991. I think if I watch it now, having seen that one, I think I actually would be like, well, this is great. You know, I would have a new appreciation for it.
Holy shit.
Go check out our review of that. We talk about the movie very little.
Yeah, a little bit. It's in there some, yeah.
But what about you, man? Did you rewatch it for this?
I did.
And then had your opinion changed at all?
My opinion on the movie hasn't changed a bit. I still think, it's Like it's weird, right? Because I think so. Like my viewpoint after watching Iron Man 3 again here recently was that the movie for me is also still bottom barrel, but I think a lot of it had to do with one because it is truly just it's a poorly made movie, and they tried to coast off of RDJ's charm instead of building upon Tony Stark and building upon Iron Man, and they devalued the suits, they devalued the Mandarin, they gave us just a paint by numbers villain and Aldrich Killian. Like there was so much that was going against the movie that didn't help it really at all. But also, I think the reason why this movie is just so lowly rated to me is because, like as you mentioned, this was the first movie that really just kind of offended my sensibilities. Where like I know the MCU can do better because I just saw Phase 1, and now this is what you give me. Whereas, if it had came out between 2020 and 2023, I'd be like, okay, it's another MCU movie.
Yeah.
Where like I'd view it maybe along the same lines as like an Ant-Man 3, or it's just it's another movie that I don't like, but I don't care enough to just go in on it anymore. So I guess at this point, apathy has replaced anger.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be like if, the first Captain Marvel movie had actually been about, like, Marvel. Mm-hmm. And then, like, Marvel died at the end.
Right.
And let's just say that we skipped Carol and she passed her powers on to, or he, either way.
Yeah.
Passed their powers on directly to Kamala, right?
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, let's just say Kamala just fucking kills it. And then we get this.
Yeah.
We get a Shane Black directed part 3.
Yeah, I'd be like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
or if like Guardians 3 had been terrible.
Right.
It'd be like that.
Yeah, exactly. It would just it would hurt the feelings. And like I think a lot of it has to do with like expectations versus reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, why did we get a bad Avengers movie?
I don't like the way you worded that at all.
I mean, can you honestly sit here and say like that's never gonna happen? Because I think people spit a lot of like Marvel doom and gloom, right? Mm-hmm. But like until we get a Avengers movie that bombs, that doesn't make a bill, or that, oh my God, can you imagine like doesn't make money? That's it, folks. That's a wrap when that happens.
Yeah,
and it will because they're gonna keep putting shit out until it does.
You see that I wonder about that sometimes because like with Kang Dynasty, for example, are they still doing that movie?
There's no way.
Yeah, probably not, right?
I mean, I think at this point, I think they have to recast Kang. I don't think you can just write him out.
I mean, I heard that they were planning on doing something similar to that, though. And moving on to Doom was the rumor I've heard.
I'd be fine with it. Mm-hmm. We're here to talk about Iron Man 3, but my problem with not only them casting Pedro Pascal as
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards, or them moving on to them trying to introduce Doctor Doom, right? It's like, do I think Pedro Pascal's going to do a great job? Of course he's going to do a great job. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they cast him for that reason. I think they cast him because they have money, mm-hmm. and they were like, well, we can get Pedro Pascal. Everybody fucking loves him.
Yep. And
money is what they have. And when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah.
And
wasn't that quote in Iron Man 1?
Is it?
I think so.
Well,
that's ironic as fuck.
Yeah, I guess so. And that's what they have.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem. I think that is overlooking the real issues. It's just like, oh, we'll just cast Pedro Pascal and it'll be fine.
Yeah, it would be like if they put. I'm just spitballing here. Like if they cast Brad Pitt as Captain America.
Right.
It's just like, well, we don't have faith in this movie, so instead of getting the person who we think can really embody everything we needed to embody, we're gonna go with like the safer bet here.
Yeah, and I would invite any of them to just watch Dark Phoenix, because that movie has a proven fucking stellar all-star cast, and it's trash.
Yeah.
And they're all trash in it, because you cannot outact a terrible script. You just can't.
No, not only that, but I mean, and not to harp on Dark Phoenix, because I try to forget that movie exists, but it's like, what do you do with the movie where, like, even the actors seem to know that it's bad?
Yeah.
I mean,
except for Jennifer Lawrence. She didn't seem to know.
Well, I mean, she had the best scene in the movie.
Where she died.
Where she died. Yeah. That was incredible.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, we can move on from this. And then it was like, oh.
I was like, I'm supposed to be sad about that. Okay, that's interesting.
But I mean, yeah, I mean the thing is, right? Like you've got to have a writing team that is competent, and Marvel, likes to preach this whole like, oh, we don't want people who know or read the source material.
Yeah.
And I would just sit back and point at like what Netflix has just done with One Piece, right? Where the most absurd fucking nobody's going to like this except anime weebs nonsense. And they put it all in, and they very unapologetically were like, this is what we have. And then One Piece comes out, and it's breaking records. And people who, like myself, who would never waste thousands of hours of their life trying to watch that fucking anime, right, are glued to it.
Yeah.
And it's just really good and refreshing, and it's a different thing. And there's nothing else really like it, you know? And I think that's what people want. And Marvel confuses that for, we're going to make this is going to be a silly superhero movie. This is going to be a interdimensional travel superhero movie. This is going to be a multiverse superhero movie.
Yeah. And
they're just throwing all these like silly labels on there, not to mention some, overly heavy-handed messaging.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I agree personally with their messaging like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
But it's the way you go about it. Putting the messaging in the movie is not really the problem to me. It's the fact that you go, okay, well, we put that in there, checkbox, we're done here, and packed it up and went home.
And, that's something that Kevin and I used to speak about quite often, was that I don't have a problem with the message at all. The problem is that you feel that is like such a necessary component, and it takes precedence over things like quality storytelling, building stronger characters, but instead you sacrifice those things and you want to put that above everything else. But what that does is it makes people resent the message, where like, no, that shouldn't be the case. Instead of making it something that would be bolstered up by a strong story and stronger characters. So I feel like they lose a lot of steam when they sacrifice what's most important when it comes to storytelling, in terms of trying to, deliver a strong message.
I think that's why something like a Euphoria. I mean, the messaging in that show is so heavy-handed.
Oh yeah,
but the fucking storytelling is incredible, and so it works. It all just works. You're not mad. You're just like, okay, yeah,
right.
This is, I get it. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do here, because it's very clear that show is written and developed by someone who's very passionate about those characters and like that story that they're telling and everything. And, going and watching, like Winter Soldier or anything that the Russos have touched, right?
Yeah.
That level of care and attention to not only like the source material, but also what has happened previously in the MCU.
Yeah.
Which I'm way more pissed when they violate things they have established in the movies. Like,
oh yeah.
Like if you want to shit on the comic, by all means, whatever. Like as long as it's still good, I don't care. Shit on the comic. But like when you have Thor hit the fucking, was it Mark 6?
Oh yeah,
armor in Avengers with Mjolnir, and it just pushes him back.
Yeah.
And then you fucking have like 40 suits of armor later, and it gets hit by a fucking semi-truck that's clearly not Optimus Prime.
Oh, yeah.
And the shit just explodes everywhere.
Or, by the way, full spoilers, if you haven't seen this godforsaken movie, but How about when Tony wakes up out of his sleep and stumbles and knocks over a suit of armor like it's, you know, made of builder blocks.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like it's embarrassing, and I'm like, how did that oversight get into this movie?
Yeah,
Where like it's one of those things where it's almost like people confuse a. They think that in order to make something look strong, they have to make something else look weak.
right.
And
It's actually, it just hurts their.
yeah. Like I haven't walked away from Iron Man 3 thinking that the extremist virus people are some of the strongest enemies. No, they're just fire breathing dick bags.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think that they're super powerful. I just think that those suits are incredibly weak for whatever reason.
Yeah, when, you know, I hate to turn everything into a wrestling reference,
Yeah.
but when Hollywood Hogan comes out and beats the shit out of Disco Inferno,
Right.
Nobody was like, oh my God, he's really strong. We went,
Yeah.
oh, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Because that guy's clearly weak.
Right.
You know? so it actually undermines what you're trying to do here.
Yeah.
All the extremist guys are fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, the whole thing just, I don't know. It hasn't gotten any better with age.
No, and that's kind of like the unfortunate thing about it, right? Because this was Marvel's, I guess technically this was their first foray also into going into, maybe Shane Black just kind of almost ruined it for the bunch, right? Because like this is like the first time where like they went to a director who has like an established style of movie making that is kind of recognizable, and they let him do his own thing, and this was the end result. You know, whereas, you know, I look at something like, you know, you mentioned Eternals earlier with Chloe Zhao. I think that she's an incredible like cinematographer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if they had allowed her to make her own movie, maybe this could have been something good. Instead, it's not.
It's like they give the creative freedom to the wrong people.
Yeah.
Like Taika Waititi, for instance. Yeah.
Right.
You know? It's like we need someone from the studio to come step in and go, no, no. Yeah, I mean, so fun fact, I've only ever blackballed 3 directors, right? As far as like, I just won't go and see their movies in theaters. And the first was Joel Schumacher, and I've removed him from the list because he's dead. So,
that's true.
It feels wrong to keep him off the list, and Comic-Con unbanned him, so, you know, who am I to...
What was there a specific reason for his banning?
Yeah, the same reason he got banned from Comic-Con.
Why did
Batman
he
and Robin. Him and George Clooney were banned from Comic-Con for 10 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they literally got banned from Comic-Con for 10 years after that movie. Chris O'Donnell didn't get touched. They knew he was trying.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real thing.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well.
But it feels wrong to keep him on the list because he's passed. So
Yep.
I hope he's in the presence of whatever deity, if any.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, and hopefully he chose the right one.
Oh, well.
So, but
That's what we all hope.
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
It's a D100 roll. But and then the second one was Shane Black. You know, and he is what I call, he is the only person that is hard banned. Like I will not watch any of his films, not just in theaters, but at all. Like I haven't watched his Predators movie, nothing.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah,
yeah.
Is that the one with Walton Goggins? Yeah. See, it had Walton Goggins in it. I still won't watch it.
Yep.
And then the other person who is soft banned is Ryan Johnson. Yeah,
right,
of course.
Yeah.
I just won't go see his movies in theaters, but I really love Glass Onion and I really love Knives Out.
Yeah.
Because he's very good with those types of movies because the characters are one-dimensional caricatures that don't have any depth to them, and he excels at that. That's his lane. Yeah,
he's really good at that style of storytelling.
Yeah,
and he should kind of stick to that.
Yeah, this guy's a smarmy, fucking snarky nephew. This dude's an old rich guy who thinks he knows shit, but he's dumb. This is, this character throws up when they lie. Like, So it's a first time D&D player that can't think of anything, and the DM goes, "Oh well, this is what you are."
Right.
You know?
And I mean, obviously, like the cast carries a lot of those movies.
Right?
And they have very strong cast in those movies.
Have you seen Glass Onion?
I actually haven't seen that one yet.
It's brilliant. Yeah,
that's what I hear.
Really good.
Yeah.
Batista fucking just kills it.
Yeah.
You know? But once again, it's the same concept as Knives Out, you know. And I'd watch like 10 more of those movies before it got old to me, I think, as long as like
you keep it fresh and
yeah. But yeah, I mean, Shane Black like is on a worse level than Ryan Johnson for this movie.
Yeah, man. So I guess also we'll take a brief pause right quick. For those of you who are new here, I guess a proper introduction is in store.
That's true.
Even though we've already 40 minutes into this thing.
That's true.
So yeah, welcome officially to the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and today I'm joined here with my good friend, my brother, the homie Caleb. Welcome back again, my friend.
Yeah, I'm gonna plug my shit. You can catch me over Entertainment Involved last night, as a matter of fact. We are coming to you from the future. We actually recorded our 2023 year in review, and it was so long that we are going to split it into 2 episodes, and I plan to have them both out by the end of the year. I actually plan to go home and edit both of them tonight. So
was that the longest podcast you've ever been a part of? It was for me, I believe.
Was it like a solid 4?
It was knocking on the door like 3 hours and 47 minutes.
Yeah, well, a little bit of that was technical difficulties.
That's true. So but you can knock it back to like 3:35 even, and that's.
Yeah, I mean,
we've had some that were close to that.
Yeah, we did have that one Mando season review that was really long.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was like fatigue had started to set in towards the end of it. Mm-hmm. It was rough. We were here until like well after midnight. And I was like, oh man, I gotta get up at like 9 a.m. and like. Out of the 4 of us, like I was like the 3rd person to wake up. So,
right.
You know, both of y'all had to be up way before.
Right.
Y'all were at work before I had to get up. So, you know, and I felt tired. So,
it was a lot of fun though. Highly recommend you guys go check that out. That was a lot of fun with just the 4 of us shooting the shit and looking back at the year.
It was tremendous.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. Like, I may be the most proud of that out of the assembleds. They've all been so good.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah, and not to plug the Homies Award again, but to plug the Homies Award again, I was thinking about adding a category for like favorite episode of the year. But I was like, man, between like the assembleds and, you know, the 1990s Captain Americas and, you know, the and the Flashes and the Howard the Duck, so I was like, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to narrow that down.
What you should do is you should do a category for most off the wall episode and put Howard the Duck, the Dragon Con review, 1990s Captain America, whatever that episode was where Oz and Kevin just went completely ballistic.
The Hulk.
Was that the Hulk?
That was 2003 Hulk. Yeah.
No. I was here for that. That was me, you, Oz, and Brendan.
Oh yeah. No.
So put that one on there.
Okay.
But then there was another one. Was it just? I think it was just a comic news.
Might have. Oh yeah, comic news.
Yeah, it was the one where Oz and Kevin just went fucking off the rails. You were trying so hard to get them back in. So there's your 5.
I forgot about that. That shit was thankfully last year.
Oh, was it last year? Yes. Oh hell. So there's 4.
Oh,
and then
maybe Homie Trivia, maybe. Oh, Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
Homie Trivia wasn't really off the rails.
That's true. Yeah, it'd be awful if it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. That'd be.
So Ninja Turtles, 2003 Hulk, 1990s Captain America, the Dragon Con review, and what was the other one?
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Most off the rails episode. There's your 5. It's got to be that Captain America, though. I'm gonna be honest. Like, only Ace was interested in talking about the movie, and the rest of us were actively not. We stopped and had like a therapy session,
right,
in the middle of the episode.
Yeah, we haven't even spoken about the goddamn movie at that point yet.
It was something else. It was great. Don't get me wrong, but. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Fuck that movie.
I think best episode would be hard. You have to narrow it down. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I mean, I'm probably the most proud of the White Sand episode for obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah, and that was hella fun, too.
Yeah. I had a blast doing that. I think I've gone back and listened to that twice. Just because I thought it was just a tremendous episode, and I thought we broke down the book so well.
Oh yeah,
you know, so.
yeah. So I mean, you know, if Sanderson wants to, you know, run anything by us, you know what I mean, we can always just keep that train going, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, all the 17th Shard guys are those are all like beta readers and stuff.
Oh, so, okay. I knew he had to have had those.
He actually has like alpha readers, beta readers. Yeah.
Jeez.
But you know, a lot of it's really funny because you know people will go open up the book and see all that and be like, "Are these like by committee?" You know. But there's a lot of times where like it'll come out after the fact that like all of the like beta readers were like, "No, like don't do this," and then like he doesn't change it. You know, he's
right.
It's really just to catch like minor things or like inconsistencies or you know stuff like that more than it is like I don't know that he's ever changed a creative choice because of it. So because I feel like not to rabbit hole us even more here, but the moment from a creativity standpoint that you sit down and go, I wonder what people would like. From that moment, I think you start to lose it, you know?
Because you're not writing for yourself anymore. Like you're writing actively trying to appease the nebula of people out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I have much more respect, I think, for just someone who does what I do and you sit down and write what you would like.
Yeah.
You know? And then if people like it, that's great. And if they don't, then come up with another idea and write that, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean... I think having a lot of like your beta readers like that is good, especially, you know, to catch like inconsistencies and typos and stuff. So
yeah, that's at that point, that's almost like an editor, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a team. Yeah. I suppose we should get back to Ironman 3 here.
We should.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, was there anything about this movie that you could find some value in or some form of appreciation for?
I mean, I think Gwyneth Paltrow does a great job. I mean, she always does a great job as Pepper.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I was watching it this last time, there's a scene where Killian like comes to the office and he's going off on this wild fucking stupid presentation of, you know, what if I told you that we could take somebody's DNA and use it as like building blocks to do this. And I'm just like, if you walked into any corporation and said this shit, they would laugh you out the door, right? And try to pitch this. Because there's no science to it. It's just mumbo jumbo, right? Yeah. And that's fine, I guess. There was a thing that like really fucking bothered me, but we'll get to that. It bothered me worse this time because I don't know if I either didn't pick it up before or I like just my brain trauma deleted it. But that scene where he's pitching all this crazy shit to her and she's just like, yeah, Killian, I'd like to help you, but that shit sounds insane. And it also sounds like it could be easily weaponized, so I'm going to have to say no. And then she steps outside and she immediately gets into this discussion with Happy, who has been 100% caricatured here.
100%, yeah.
And also, it kind of happened to him in No Way Home a little bit, too.
Yeah.
But when he's doing the whole like badges thing, you know, and he's just being completely over the top with her about the security and everything. Yeah. And I'm like, this feels like Gwyneth Paltrow is the only human character in the Muppet movie. Because she's the only fucking character that's written with any kind of goddamn sense.
Yeah, and you know, and that is a good point. And so I do want to talk a little bit about, obviously, Tony Stark here, though, and how he's portrayed here. Because I don't want to come off as insensitive, you know, like obviously Tony is suffering from PTSD, you know, from an alien invasion.
And that angle was fine.
Yeah. It's for me, the angle is fine, and what they're trying to do is fine. It's the delivery and kind of the inconsistency of it that I don't fully understand. Like how the resolution at the end of this movie, I don't understand how that helps him press on or move forward.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't really get it from that angle. And I mean, also, and I've said this plenty of times over the years, but that whole shit could have been avoided. You send the fucking space god into space, and you stay your human ass on Earth,
I mean, I don't think it's far-fetched that Tony Stark would be arrogant enough to try to go, oh, hey, I'm the fucking main character, give me the rocket.
Right.
I don't think that's out of character for him at all.
Yeah.
And then I do think and that's what really hurts. It's like, in more effective and thoughtful hands, this angle could have been something really fucking thought-provoking and cool. But instead, we get this thing that Sanderson has talked about where, and this is very popular in mainstream culture, media, whatever, is the main character has a mental health issue of some kind, and at some point, they just decide to be over it.
Right.
And that is I think one of the most harmful tropes out there.
Yeah.
And, somebody asked him actually about his kind of portrayal of like mental health problems and stuff at a panel, and he gave a response that was way just too good for me to give to try to replicate it. But it was basically along those lines of, we have what we have here where it's like, yeah, okay, he's having the panic attacks and all this other stuff, and he's having a hard time sleeping or whatever. At no point does this super genius think, I'll go to a doctor.
Yeah. I mean, so end of the movie.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah. Terrible. The thing about that post-credit scene that was so bad is that all of us, like I said earlier, we were all chomping at the fucking bit for like what was going to be next.
Yeah.
And, the after-credit scene comes up, and it's just this throwaway bullshit scene.
And that's another reason why. Was Iron Man 3, was that the only MCU movie we got in 2013? Or was Thor 2, The Dark World, that year as well?
We also got Thor: The Dark World that year.
Okay.
And then we got Winter Soldier in
2014. Yeah, we got Winter Soldier and Guardians.
Yeah.
Yeah, the obviously the superior year.
And the thing is, the MCU movie that used to get the most hate in the Infinity Saga was always Dark World.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that at all. Dark World is a I'm not going to say it's a fucking amazing, thought-provoking, life-changing film, but it's way better than this movie.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And you know what I think? Maybe it's just a matter of placement. You know what I mean? Because Iron Man 3, I believe, did come out first.
It did, yeah.
So maybe if you swap places with those two movies, people, I don't know. Because I'm with you on that. Like, when we rewatched The Dark World, I was like, okay, I mean, it's not going to set the world on fire, but I'm not offended by this movie, Yeah,
I mean, they shit all over Malekith, but they do that all the time.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's a long-running trend at this point, shitting on your villains.
Yeah, we cast this amazing actor and put him in a bunch of prosthetics.
Yep.
Give him about 8 minutes of screen time.
Right, and just strip his personality, And so, there was nothing there for Eccleston to really do.
Yeah. But, I mean, we got, fucking Heimdall was off the chain in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, kind of the only character I like in Ragnarok.
Yes.
It's Heimdall.
Yeah, and then they shit all over him.
Yeah.
That, where you think he's going to fight the Fenris Wolf.
And
you're like, oh, this is about to be amazing.
Right.
And it's a gag, and he doesn't.
And not to go back to shitting on Ragnarok, one of my favorite pastimes, but it's like the Heimdall moments are the only moments in that movie where the movie and the tone match.
Yeah.
And it's like everything else is like goofy Thor adventure time, and fun slipping on banana peel time. And then you go back to Heimdall, and he's literally fighting to save the lives of the Asgardians.
I bet if I rewatch Ragnarok now, though, I bet I would like it more because we've seen what could happen. Whereas this is the shittiest Iron Man we've ever seen.
It is, and
they immediately retconned it.
Yeah.
It immediately, like when you watch, it's like the end of this. He's like, I got the surgery. I fucking blew up all my suits, blah blah. beginning of Age of Ultron,
Yeah.
he's just out with the Avengers. Here I go, Iron Man again. Yeah. And there's just, and they don't even, nothing.
Don't address any of it.
Straight retcon the whole movie. And I mean.
What else are you going to do with it?
That's what we wanted them to do, honestly.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I mean, also, like, I don't know how you get away with that ending in Iron Man 3 because clearly he can't just destroy all the fucking suits. Like,
you know, for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason. Yeah. I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah, in Age of Ultron, he's out here trying to build all these fucking robots. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you just had a bunch of suits.
Right. Like, yeah.
I mean, obviously those robots are stronger than these fucking suits.
That's true.
They even gave us I guess the prototype Hulkbuster.
Yep.
And then it was trash too, you know? We got that one cool scene where it like picks up that big ass pillar.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were like, oh, that's going to be amazing. Is he going to get in there? And then no.
No. You got to wait till Age of Ultron.
That whole segment where he's running around like, Jarvis, I need a suit. And then like every time he like tries to get in one, it like gets destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why would you want to be inside one then?
Right.
Like,
yeah, if they're that fucking fragile, like maybe like Jarvis just like does the placement of the suits, but like none of the screws or rivets are in place. Something's going on with these suits to where they just get demolished every time, like they're made of wet paper mache.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, because it's so easy to go off on what I think is wrong with this movie, I wanted to challenge myself and try to find something about this movie that I do appreciate. And there are genuine moments where it seems like Tony Stark is trying to address or verbalize his PTSD, and he's having a hard time.
It's more earlier in the film.
It is, yeah.
The scene with him and Rhodey at the bar or whatever.
Yeah.
Great scene.
Oh yeah, I agree.
None of the other bullshit is going on.
Right. I also like, besides the fact that he just knocks over one of his suits like it's made of nothing, I like the scene where he wakes up from his nightmare.
Yeah.
Because like that's when he allows himself to be vulnerable and he tells Pepper, look, I am definitely afraid of losing you. The only thing that really matters to me. And he kind of begins to spill his heart a little bit. The problem with that scene is that you juxtapose that with the end of the movie where it looks like Pepper dies. And Tony, his reaction isn't what you would think it would be based on what he said early in the movie.
Right.
You know?
At all.
Yeah. And because of his lack of reaction, I never bought her death for a little bit.
Yeah, like his lack of reaction there is like, it was so glaring to me this time when I watched it. I don't know if it was before or not, and I just forgot. But yeah, I mean, that scene is like, you know, the supervillain has just murdered the quote unquote damsel in distress.
Right.
And like, you'd think you would have this fucking fierce just kind of reaction from the protagonist.
Right.
But instead, like, fucking Killian just walks up and starts monologuing.
Yeah.
And Tony's just chilling listening to him like,
right.
Tell me more about what you have to say.
Yeah.
I would very much like to hear this monologue right now.
And yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
Even Goku would have been beating the shit out of him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, or at least doing that thing where he's like seething, you know,
yeah,
and then about to go Super Saiyan, whatever. Yeah. And now it's time to go even further beyond.
At a minimum, we would be getting that.
Right. So I counted again because I wanted to make sure that my previous time frame was correct, and it is. It is at the 42-minute mark where he exits the Iron Man suit as it powers down when he crash lands in Tennessee, and then it is I believe it's the hour and 15-minute mark where he finally fully suits up again. And so, yeah, it is nearly 45 minutes where there is no actual Iron Man in this movie. Right in the middle of your movie, there's no Iron Man. And if they really had something interesting to say or do, then I think that I wouldn't be upset at it, you know? But the fact that they don't have anything interesting to do makes it that much worse.
You know, I actually think that the Air Force One scene is really good. Like, when he fucking murders that guy. Because, like, that's the point in the movie where you think it's going to pick up. Because it's like, he's all, ha, I'm just Robert Downey Jr. the movie the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he fucking roasts that dude. Like, blasts the hole through his chest.
Oh, yeah.
On the plane. You're like, you never seen anybody in the MCU
Just
fucking
murder
someone like that. You're like, okay, he's had enough. We're going to turn it up to fucking 9 million now. Like, this is going to be it. And then there's that scene where he saves all the people falling.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is a good fucking scene, too.
Right.
Like, it was, the cinematography on it was really cool.
Yeah.
It reminded me of, like, almost like a Mission Impossible stunt,
Right.
you know, where, except for, like, Robert Downey Jr. ain't doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Cruise shit. And then they fucking immediately, when it ends, they ruin it all with the fucking semi-truck.
They undercut it for a bad joke.
Yeah.
You know?
And the joke means nothing and is nothing, and it pisses you off, and you instantly forget everything great about it, and you just are like, oh, we're not going to dial it up. This is the same old bullshit. And they never dial it up.
Yeah.
And that's the only guy that Tony beats the whole time, and he's not even in the suit.
Right.
You know, the entire movie, it's always like roadie or some circumstantial bullshit or, you know, whatever. So that was a great scene until they ruined it.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Is the character of Maya not just completely terrible? Like,
she's such a nothing burger, though. Yeah. And that's the biggest problem with her.
And a good actress, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rebecca Hall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think she's really good, but just not here, and it's because she's got nothing to do. It's to the point where that when she, you know, kind of reveals herself to be working with the Mandarin, that it's not even impactful.
You're like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then there's that scene where she threatens to stab herself with the poison, and she's like, well, you know, what's going to happen if you get too hot or whatever, you don't have me here, I'm the only one who knows the research, blah, 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 blah. And then he just shoots her in the head.
Yeah.
And you're like, that doesn't answer any of those questions.
Right, yeah.
And then you never see any repercussions from it.
None. Yeah. Yeah, because, Killian, he never overheats.
No.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, he puts himself in the suit, and then Tony makes the suit self-destruct, which, why is that a thing?
Right. Yeah. Why would you build that into them? It makes no sense. And then he still comes back from that, right? And then like Pepper.
And then
gets the
Pepper,
kill.
yeah, she gets the kill. Yeah.
Which I actually really didn't mind that, but it's just like it was just meh anyway.
It was, yeah. I mean, and just like the thing I didn't like about it was just again how trivialized it was to cure Pepper. Like, so it's just a matter of.
So I fixed her.
Yeah.
Because I'm Tony Stark and I can figure out anything. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. The he's Batman doesn't work here.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. Like, you have your specific lane of science, just like, you know, Hank Pym has his lane. You know, Bruce Banner has his lane. Reed Richards, they all have their different lanes of science. You can't just be science, man. You know?
I mean, as a matter of fact, it would have made infinitely more sense if they would have had Bruce's cameo there at the end, and he would have been the one to fix her.
Right, yeah.
You know?
That would have made a lot more sense,
This is what the fuck he does.
Right.
Yeah.
This might be a bit of a hot take.
He's very credible in that area of science.
I'm not giving it to you. No. This might be a bit of a hot take. No extremist pun intended. But I actually think that the first 2/3 of this movie has my favorite live action interpretation of the Mandarin.
Like before the reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was fucking amazing.
He was great. And then they ruined it.
Yeah.
They fucking ruined it.
Yeah, you're like Ben Kingsley was fucking railing this. Just so incredible. Like the way that he like monologued it, and that scene where he like calls the president live or whatever and then murders the dude or whatever. All of that stuff was like so good. I mean, it instantly, I think there was no way that it couldn't have reminded everybody at the time of Dark Knight's Joker.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was going to be like Marvel's version of that. And not even, the movie doesn't even get over before they just completely like the idea of Trevor, like the whole concept. Like, don't get me wrong. I can 100% see how like that would have been cool in another way. Like if you wanted to like in Arkham Origins, right, where you think it's going to be Black Mask,
and then it's Joker,
and it's actually Joker.
Right.
I could see that working in a movie. Very cool, but not. I mean, this. No one liked this.
Imagine having such an impactful performance and such an amazing character up until that point, and then replacing him with this one note, just cardboard layer of Aldrich Killian. Like, what made anyone think that was the superior villain in this movie?
No, I mean, and there's not even a good fight, with any of the extremist guys. And what was the point of the bombings? What was like? There's never any point in time where where Killian has any sort of plan,
right?
And
like even when he, presented the whole presentation to Pepper, we don't know. Like, okay, if she said yes, what would that lead to?
Yeah, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. So we never really get any kind of resolution to anything that he had planned. I mean, everything was so overly planned that none of it was actually planned.
Yeah.
So like he goes through all this rigmarole to get this fake Mandarin set up, to take the heat, and for what?
Yeah.
So none of it really makes sense. It's just such a. It's still one of the twists that just infuriates me.
Yeah.
To know when it would be like you said, imagine watching The Dark Knight and then like it's not the Joker, but it's fucking
it's Killer Croc.
Yeah. I would be intrigued at that point.
You're like, actually,
I'm like, fuck it, let me see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I would actually very much like for you to tell me how Killer Croc manipulated the Joker. Right. I have great interest.
Yeah. It'd be like if it was somebody pretending to be the Joker, but we still got that amazing performance from Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And then come to find out it was Commissioner Loeb who was pulling the strings the whole time.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I'm like, that would be fucking awful. Yeah. And that's what they do here in this movie, though. So, yeah, I don't like anything that they have to do like with that twist. Trevor Slattery was a fucking abomination, and I mean, my God, I really wish, like, if there's several moments in the MCU where I wish Kevin Feige would have stepped in and intervened. That is definitely the first moment where I'm like, I want to use my fix this fuck up card now on that.
That is definitely the moment, like, if he was gonna fix anything, because if we look at this movie, this pulled the first thread that unraveled half the damn blanket.
Yeah.
It could have easily been stopped after this, like, and it was for a while.
Yeah,
like the barrel had a hole in it, and they plugged it, but now it's got so many holes that.
Oh yeah, you run out of corks. You can't.
Yeah. You got 2 fingers, and you can stick one. You can plug 2.
Right.
But the barrel still ain't holding any water, and that's kind of where we're at now. But you let it get to that point, and that's the unfortunate thing, because I would say it's this movie, and then I don't think we got anything just completely like slap in the face again until Captain Marvel, right? I mean, Guardians 2 we have our opinions on, but like,
I don't think Guardians was a slap in the face. It's just lackluster, especially compared to the first one
and the third one.
Oh yeah, and the third one, yeah.
Yeah, it's the usually the middle of the trilogy is usually good, but no, it's easily the worst.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it probably wasn't until Captain Marvel that we got something where it was just like eye rolling, you're just shitting on your own.
Right.
On your own ideas and your own stuff. I mean, and even Captain Marvel to me is not as bad as this movie. We didn't get a movie that I thought was as bad as this movie until we got Love and Thunder. Because it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Love and Thunder is the same thing when he gets on fucking Stormbreaker and rides off on it like a witch's broom.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like Love and Thunder tries too hard to be funny at all times.
Yeah.
And it's like Taika Waititi's trying to laugh to keep from crying, you know?
Yeah.
Because he had just such a shitty movie on his hands. You know, Iron Man 3, it is obviously based off of the comic book known as Extremis. And that, to me, is, I put it top 3 solo Iron Man stories, you know? It's like Demon in the Bottle, Armor Wars, and Extremis.
But we didn't actually get the armor until Infinity War.
Exactly, yeah. So, a little bit of a delayed reaction.
But the armor was sick as shit.
It was cool as fuck, yeah.
Yeah, but, it's kind of like I get that because it's like, if he's got that armor, he's got to fight Thanos. Because, he would have murdered the shit out of the man.
Oh, yeah. Right. But it's a shame because the comic book was so good. I've always thoroughly enjoyed that run. As a matter of fact, I caught an Easter egg I don't think I caught before. The president's name is President Ellis, and the guy who wrote Extremis is Warren Ellis. So I assume that's like a wink and a nod to him, but he probably wants nothing to do with this goddamn movie because it has very little in common to do with Tony Stark. Or with his original story. Even the way this movie opens up, this was when the fatigue for me started to set in with the I'm a villain because Tony Stark hurt my feelings. This is when it really started to set in for me. Because it was just so lazy. They couldn't have gone any lazier with Aldrich Killian had they tried. He was a weird nerd who worked for AIM, and I think it was you who mentioned it to me a couple weeks ago that they did mention AIM in Iron Man 3, and I completely forgot.
Yeah, because you were like, "Why they never brought up AIM?" And I was like, "Oh, they did. Oh, they did. It's been etched in my mind."
I completely forgot.
Honestly, that flashback scene is really the only time that we ever got any dimension to his character at all.
If you want to call that dimension,
this is the only time you care about him.
Yeah,
because you actually do feel bad for him because he seems like he knows what he's talking about. He's like that nerd that nobody wants to listen to, but knows what they're doing. And then Tony, tells him that he'll meet him up on the roof, and he gets all excited.
Yeah.
Fucking Tony's not coming up there.
Right.
He's done said he's about to go get his dick wet.
Right.
And so, we got this whole thing, and that's the only time you give a single shit about the guy in the whole movie.
I want to know what happens between that and him being a terrorist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just there is never a pun intended end game for the guy.
Right.
His plan just doesn't ever actually come to any sort of fruition. There's no goal. There's just no anything. So
what is his plan?
Right.
Obviously
he wants to, well, we get that stupid reveal that the vice president is in on it.
Yeah.
So I guess I guess, and this isn't in the film, we're adding this, that I feel like I'm defending a Zack Snyder DC movie right now, but because I'm just adding shit to the movie that's not there. But I am, I'm guessing that the plan is to kill the president, which would mean the vice president would become the president, and then he's got the president in his pocket. And that's as far as it went, I guess. But the movie didn't even explain that shit.
Yeah, no. It's just a shitty, nonsensical plot, right? But it had so much potential. Obviously, again, from the source material, which, by the way, the source material is yes, Tony Stark gets his cool new nanotech armor, but that's not really what the story is about.
Right.
The story is about this virus, this extremist virus gets out, and this racist hillbilly hick named Aldrich Killian gets a hold of it. And, he wants to enact kind of these, what you can imagine a racist kind of individual would want to do. And Iron Man shows up, gets his ass just completely kicked in, goes back, and he's like, I can inject myself with these experimental nanotechs I've been working on. Shit might kill me, but it'll fix me up if it works, and I'll have cool new armor. And most of the story is then about him going under, and he has a flashback to him being in the cave, building the suit with Ho Jensen, who we actually see in this movie in a brief cameo, and them working together to build the suit, and him getting out and him beginning to kind of change his ways. Like the whole story is about Tony Stark addressing his past as a warmonger and kind of not looking for redemption, but looking at who he used to be and who he wants to be now. And so that's the reason why I love that story so much, is because it's a character study for Tony Stark. They don't shy away from the fact that he made weapons that ended up killing innocent children, and he has to address that. And, what this movie does is it doesn't do anything interesting with Aldrich Killian. I'm not saying you have to make him a racist, phobist or whatever, but they could have done something with him. And as far as Tony goes, like, they don't really explore any of his past demons anymore. And so, like, it's kind of a case like Love and Thunder, where everything that's interesting about the story from the source material is left out.
Right.
And then we just have like a shell of what is left,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's so much they could have done with Tony in this movie. I mean, they do more with him in Civil War than they did in any of the movies other than the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, he starts off Civil War being kind of this, he's kind of on his high horse, right? Like, it's all, well, I've retired and now I'm kind of like the face of the Avengers to, like, the government.
Right.
And, he's gone the bureaucrat route and all this stuff. And then by the end of it, he's like, he's remembering, like, why it is that he put on the suit in the first place. And, like, it's such a really good arc. And, like, that fight between him and Cap at the end of that is so emotional.
Yeah.
And just, and Bucky is there too, but he's getting wrecked most of the time. But that whole thing, that whole fight was so good, because it's one of those times that's rare in the MCU where an argument can be made that any person could have been in the right,
Well, when it's about the Civil War, yeah. But my problem's always been in the third act, it's no longer about the Civil War. It's about, you knew that Bucky killed my parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the part that I think is good about the fight, though.
Yeah. I've always wished it had been more about the ideology of it all.
I agree. Yeah.
But and I've always also maintained, I understand why Marvel didn't, but I wish they had the balls to do it. Because if you do make it about the ideology, you have to choose a side.
Right. And if they had done the thing that I always hate that they left out is the Peter Parker. Because they did the fucking angle they made everyone forget him anyway. Yeah. And I was like,
they could have done it.
This was okay, but if you'd have done it here, it would have been so much better.
Right.
Because honestly, it would have been so easy because, Far From Home was after that.
Yeah.
But they could have easily played it up in Far From Home where he's like, oh, God, everybody knows who I am in America. Like, everybody's always coming up to me, blah, 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 blah. This will be a nice trip to Europe and a way for me to get away. Yeah. And then immediately when he steps off the plane, everybody's like, Spider-Man! Yeah. They totally could have spun it that way and kept it for the whole movie.
They could have.
But and it would have been so much more impactful and made a lot more sense for him to go to Doctor Strange and ask for the rollback. Like, it would have been really long-term storytelling.
But it would have paid off, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I don't hate the way it happened, but it's just like, it could have, you went for a fucking 8, but you could have had a 10.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we took a different route, but we still got there in the end,
Yeah. So, that being said.
Yeah. So we've also already talked about how we were both disappointed in the suits in this movie. I remember seeing it in the theaters, and it was like, okay, well, they got some really cool, mock designs that they took from the comic books or whatever. But in practicality, none of them are worth a damn.
And we never really get to see the Iron Patriot armor do a fucking thing.
Not a goddamn thing. Not a goddamn. It's a glorified Easter egg.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
we get the banter about him shitting on the name.
Yeah.
And the name is dumb.
It is very dumb. Yeah, I agree. But, like, even that, though, okay, so, like, in the comic books, it's Norman Osborn in the suit, in the Iron Patriot suit. And he's doing it because he wants to start his own new brand of Avengers with fucking supervillains. But in this movie, they were almost onto something that was almost interesting, but then they dropped it. The whole idea of, well, War Machine, you can't market that.
Right.
So we have to rebrand to Iron Patriot. Like, I know we already got like the Iron Man and the War Machine fight, but I mean, how cool would it have been if they had hijacked the suit?
Right.
Seeing that he was working with the vice president.
And then honestly, I think one of the angles they could have gone with this is if they had gone, if they had the foresight to go ahead and get a U.S. agent.
Oh,
you know, where like they want Rhodes to come in and be this, freaking corporate fucking marketed thing. He refuses, so they're like, oh, we're just gonna get this guy then. They just put him in the damn Iron Patriot armor,
right?
And then it all goes south, and then they could have done this thing where maybe he like got demoted or whatever, like they took his armor away, whatever. Had that lead into Falcon and Winter Soldier. Once again, no, they didn't have it all worked out.
Hindsight's 20/20, I guess, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but they knew what they were gonna fucking do.
Yeah. So also, and again, please correct me because I might be wrong on this, but Tony Stark has lived in the same place since Iron Man 1.
Right.
Didn't everyone already know where he lived? Like, that's not something hard to find.
Right, yeah.
So,
you think, as a matter of fact, now that you mention it, in fucking the Guardians Christmas special, they have a book that tells you where all the celebrities live. And it's very easy to obtain one.
Right. Yeah. So him giving out his address, I'm like, I mean, you can make an argument that taunted the Mandarin enough so that he finally did the attack, but it's presented like the Mandarin had no idea where Tony Stark lived until Tony Stark shouted out his address.
not to mention, like, the whole thing of, like, that whole thing where they blow up the house is terrible. Because it's like, he does destroy the helicopters, and he does it without the suit flying.
Yeah.
But he waits until they've basically blown the house up.
Right.
To do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, these helicopters showed up and fired a fucking missile on a civilian's house.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me the government didn't have anything like picking that shit up on radar or anything, and like, it was on the news.
Yeah. Well, Rhodey responded like he didn't even know it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, what in the fuck is going on?
And that's also when you get all the contrived bullshit with the suit, too, where it doesn't work when the plot needs it to not work, and then as soon as it does, the suit's fine.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, so it used to be that the arc reactor powered the suits. So, but apparently not.
Right.
Apparently it runs off double A's or something.
Yeah. It runs off whatever Ty Simpkins has in his garage.
Yeah, which is clearly lean that his mom is selling. So we haven't talked about Ty yet. What do you think about him in this movie?
He's not bad, and I know you hate child actors, and he doesn't do a bad job.
I agree.
The whole fucking side quest is stupid.
Yeah, that was my problem with it, right? Like, and he doesn't have as much screen time as I remembered him having.
It just felt long back in the day.
It did, yeah.
But now it's like, I don't really like this, but can we keep doing this so we don't have to go back to the other thing?
Yeah.
It's like, I really don't like this fucking Robert Downey Jr., the movie, buddy cop movie shit, but I'll take it over going back to the main plot. Like, give me some more of this fucking B plot.
Yeah, please. Yeah, so like the whole Ty stuff, like you said, I do not like most child actors because I think most of them are fucking awful. However, I wasn't mad at his performance at all here. I thought the kid did a really good job, actually. I just, like you said, I wish it meant something.
I was the only one in the theater in fucking Endgame that recognized him at the funeral.
I did not. That motherfucker grew like 3 feet taller.
Yeah. Everyone was like, who the fuck was that random guy? I was like, it was the kid from Iron Man 3. And then you guys were all like, ah.
Yeah. I will say this to pat myself in the back. I did recognize the noise at the end of the movie. People were wondering, well, what's the noise supposed to be? I was like, it sounds like Tony Stark hammering away at his armor in Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
Yep.
I will not give myself props for guessing who the fuck was speaking at the end of Eternals because no one knew who the fuck that was.
Oh, man, that whole thing, we were sitting here like, what the fuck was
right.
that? Man, I don't want to talk about Blade. I don't want to talk about Blade. They're going to fuck that up. They're going to fuck up the easiest home run they could hit.
That was supposed to be so easy. Not to segue to that, but there's a glimmer of hope now. You know, they said it's going to be rated R, and they got one of the writers from Logan. I mean, so they're taking steps in the right direction, at least.
Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, will we? Hopefully.
This is a situation where the 90s movie is so beloved. They literally could shot for shot remake it in today's visuals. Mm-hmm. And, like, they could fucking cast Jeff Daniels as Whistler. Or fucking Russell Crowe or somebody.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah, anybody like that.
Yeah.
And just go with it.
Yeah.
And people would be like, this is fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But
yeah, I'd be for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be better than what I think we're gonna get. I have no faith in that movie now.
It's scary because that movie was announced. Was it 2020 that it was announced?
No, 2019 when they came out with the big slate.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit! And here we are going into 2024, and that movie won't be out there saying until 2025. So 6 years after it was announced.
Yeah, I mean, it's the New Mutants.
Fucking hell. and that's never a good thing, you know.
No,
like any movie that's been pushed back that many times has never turned out for the better.
No, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, back to Iron Man 3, there were a few more things that I had on the docket about it that I wanted to speak on.
The giant bunny?
What's the point?
Right.
Like, what was the purpose of that?
Yeah. Also, the thing that I really fucking hated is it's when he goes to the, like, communications truck and he runs into, like, the Tony stand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he makes a quip about get up there on the roof and, like, calibrate the ISDNs for me, pal. Now, I work in technology, and not only is that not how it fucking works, but, like, ISDNs is, like, ISDN is, like, an old, like, dial-up era internet technology, basically, that, like, businesses use mainly, or colleges, you know. And it was, like, a whopping 3-4 times faster than dial-up, typically.
Well, hear me out now. Did Tony Stark purposely tell that guy that just to get him out of his face? Like, was it just like a quippy, smart-ass Tony Stark thing to say?
Maybe, but like the fact that was that guy's telecom truck, he
would have known.
He should know.
Yeah, okay.
It was like a Big Bang Theory joke.
Oh,
you know?
Oh wow,
it was just terrible.
Yeah, where like it's supposed to be something nerdy, but then it ends up just being fucking wrong.
Yeah, just stupid as fuck.
Yeah. Got it.
And it made me cringe real hard.
I can see that. I can see that. How do you feel that the visuals held up over the past 10 years?
They're not bad.
I agree.
All the extremist stuff looks terrible, right? But it always did.
Yeah.
And it's a design choice. It's not because the VFX were bad. It's just the whole they grab the suit and it locks up. All of that is just silly as fucking. No one likes it.
Yeah.
But I think all the visuals on the suits and all of that was tremendous. I mean,
I agree. There were times where I was still struggling to tell, like, okay, is that all CG or some of that practical? And like I remember when Tony, when he first lands in Tennessee in the snow, and you see the suit, hit the snow, and then it comes to a stop, and they got the camera over the suit, and I'm like, okay, that's CG, and then you see how it opens up, and I'm like, okay, well clearly that's a dude, that's Tony Stark. And but it wasn't the same thing that it was in like other movies with the Iron Man suits, where like it was kind of like a head floating.
Yeah.
And then there's like a CG. It wasn't like that, So it looked just like a CG overlay. So it still looked really good, considering that it's 10 years old.
I think a lot of the effects in this movie were really good. I think this is before they started to have all the VFX.
Oh yeah,
struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously they just went all out and really nailed it. I mean, I thought all the CG in this was, I mean, at worst, serviceable. I can't really think of what I consider to be a bad VFX shot.
No, not particularly.
I think the worst looking shot in the movie is probably like the very last shot with Killian in it after he, like pulls a cell and I'm back, Goku.
He does kind of pull a cell, doesn't he?
Yeah. And then immediately gets dispatched.
Yeah. Would you put Killian in the bottom 5 MCU villains, or do you think that he barely etches out of that? There's a lot of trash villains.
I think the villain from the Marvels is definitely down there with him.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever the fuck her name was.
Darbin.
Yeah. Not trying to be racist, but it's very obvious what planet she's from or what race. Because only the Kree would name themselves some stupid shit like that.
What about Jan Rog from Captain Marvel?
I think Jan Rog was better than Darbin or fucking Killian.
I mean, what was his plot?
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
You got Ghost from Ant-Man 2.
That one's really bad. You have Kang the Conqueror from Iron Man 3.
What? Oh, from Ant-Man 3?
Or Ant-Man 3, my bad. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Fucking terrible.
What they gave him was terrible. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. And then he lost a fist fight
to Ant-Man.
to fucking Scott Lang.
The big bad, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, the big Saga 2 sequel to Thanos. Yeah,
who approved that? That's
in the next movie, Stature is gonna 1v1 fucking wreck Galactus.
Gonna kick him right in his ass. Yeah. Send him packing.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, well, he eats planets, and planets are very large, so we need someone very small to go against him, and he won't see that coming.
Yeah, that'll fucking work.
It worked. It's better than whatever fucking Killian's plan was.
That's true.
Yeah, those are all pretty rough. Who the fuck is the? Ego is pretty far out there. Ego is pretty terrible.
Yeah,
but not as bad as these.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I like him more than.
Hela is pretty bad.
Hela is. I put her in the same category as like Ego. Bad. Yeah. God damn it. I put her in the same category as like Ego, where like they're bad, but I feel like there's worse.
No, Ego is bad, but like Hela is way worse than the Ego to me because she literally just walked around fucking monologuing, mustache twirling the whole movie, and just super OP for no reason.
Crazy OP. I'm like, Odin should have said something.
Yeah. Trying to think, who was the villain in Eternals?
Fucking Icarus.
Yeah, that was pretty awful.
That was awful. Yeah,
I think the only
that shit.
Yeah, he was terrible. I think that guy's got to be an asshole in real life because like he plays a complete douchebag in Rocket Man.
Oh, does he?
And it's too good. It's one of those where it's like, man, I really fucking just want to murder this fucking guy. Like, he's awful. He's a terrible fucking person. And you're like, yeah, he's not that good of an actor. He means that shit.
He means that shit.
Who else was terrible? I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
Other awful MCU villains. Yeah, I think we got the bottom of the barrel here.
Oh, you know what? I actually have them all written down.
Yeah, because you guys ranked them.
Yeah, we did. But yeah, like that. I think that Aldrich Killian, like, I think about what they could have done to fix him, and one of the things would be like to actually think about what his fucking plot is.
Right. Yeah.
First and foremost,
like, actually have an end game for him, have an actual goal that he's trying to accomplish, and the protagonist keeps him from accomplishing that. And
right.
I mean, that just gets boiled down to him murdering Pepper later on for what reason I can't tell you.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh man, you know, she really deserved better." Blah blah blah, and he starts monologuing about how he would have been so much better for Pepper, and so now I'm like, so this turned into a whole thing about him having feelings for Pepper.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing is just weird.
Okay, yeah, here we are. So, yeah, we already mentioned Yon Rob. We talked about Ghost, Taskmaster from Black Widow.
Oh, I forgot all about that. Yeah. I actually forgot all about that whole movie.
Oh, Caecilius from Doctor Strange.
Caecilius is way fucking cooler than Killian. I mean, granted, like he got terrible fucking screen time and all that, but
Yeah. Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man 1. He was pretty bad.
he was pretty bad in Ant-Man 1. But like, oh God, when he came back. Like, it'd be impossible for me not to look at him in Ant-Man 1 now and be like, this was clearly the golden age of this character. Is MODOK a villain? Because if MODOK is a villain, we can put him way down at the fucking bottom.
I didn't even bother.
Yeah.
I prefer to believe MODOK doesn't exist. I think those like the worst ones I have on here, and then they just kind of get better. I mean, so yeah, then it's like, you know, but Whiplash wasn't really.
He was just okay. I mean,
yeah, he wasn't
take
egregious.
it or leave it.
Same thing with like Ronin for me.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, the only really truly standout villains are Loki and Thanos. I mean,
yeah, I think Killmonger was good.
Yes, I agree. Killmonger's right there with him.
I liked Ultron. I wish they had, you know, more time with him, but I liked Ultron.
What's his name? Alexander Pierce.
That's an actor's name.
Is it?
No, you mean Alexander Pierce from Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, Robert Redford. Yeah.
Yep. I think for that we replaced him with just using Winter Soldier instead.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Winter Soldier, he was a really good villain. Like, he was a one-note villain, but really good at that note.
Well, it was kind of the combo of the two of them.
Yeah.
That made, they were really good together, you know.
Obviously, Kevin and I were really big fans of Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vulture.
Yeah, Vulture was incredible. Where did you have fucking oh my God, my brain just White. Fucking Wakanda Forever.
Namor.
Yeah, where'd you guys have Namor? Or did you do the list before that came out?
We did it right before it came out. Yeah, so we don't have him on here.
All right, well, now I get to put you on the spot then. You have to place Namor. Where's Namor?
Well, seeing that I have it here right in front of me, it's a lot easier to place something. I would put him, because we had to segment it in like groups of 5.
Yeah. So for brevity,
yeah,
top 10, bottom 10, or middle?
He is. I put him in the middle.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. He'd be like between like Mandarin and Mysterio for me.
I really liked the resolution for that, where like the path to get there wasn't great. That movie is so weird because it has. This is not about Wakanda Forever, but it has like so many middling points.
Yeah,
but it has some really great fucking high points too.
Like for me, the movie has 2 really good high points and a really good cameo.
Yeah.
Obviously the Michael B. Jordan cameo, so I'm referring to.
That shit, the whole theater, like, gasped.
Yeah. Hey, they did it again.
Dang, man.
Looking at my goddamn camera. I figured this shit out one day. But no, it was also the Ramonda scene. It's like everything that Angela Bassett had to do was tremendous.
Angela Bassett back still got to be hurting for carrying that fucking movie, dude.
And then there was a fight scene between Okoye and one of the Atlanteans.
It was so good.
That was a good fight scene. Yeah.
I really like the way the Atlanteans were like presented. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there were so many things that were wrong with that movie too. We won't get into them now, but that was the one where it was just like it really hurt because it was just like there's individual pieces in this that are fucking 10 out of 10 stellar, but then you mixed it with a bunch of pieces that aren't, and then the end thing like put I challenge you, go online and get and pick out your favorite kind of cake and buy all the best fucking ingredients you can for that cake. And then replace 2 of them with some random shit you have in your house. And see if that cake is worth the fuck.
All right, well, there was going to be egg in this cake, but instead there's mustard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like, just imagine though, like my viewing experience being like, man, I'm really not having a good time, but Angela Bassett is killing it, and then they fucking kill her. Like, god damn.
It's like, okay, well,
well, shit.
M'Baku, what you got?
Right.
Yeah, show up and do something cool. Yeah. And I don't think Letitia Wright was bad in that. I mean, she was good. I
don't think so either. But man, like they should not have had Angela Bassett like be sleeveless and seeing that this 60-year-old lady is fucking jacked.
I mean, I love the final fight though between her and Namor.
Yeah, I did too.
It's so rare now that we get a fight in the third act like that not only is like has emotional depth to it, but was so tactical. And made fucking sense and was choreographed well. I love that fight scene. It's really good.
It was a good fight.
Yeah, it's so rare now. We always get either a big ass CG fest. The villain randomly has an army for the side characters to fight. Yeah, all of that shit.
Right, all the normal good shit that we get in these movies now. Guardians 3 obviously had some really good fight scenes in it.
Oh god,
yeah.
That their hallway scene is the ensemble version of the Daredevil fight scene.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even the
amazing
the Peter and Groot fight scene.
Yeah.
Was also stellar.
Yeah, we talked about this last night, man. Like, I fucking hate Chris Pratt in everything. But like he did a really good job in that movie.
Yeah.
I completely forgot for that whole 2.5 hours that Star-Lord fucked up and got 50 billion life forms killed.
No, they came back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, well, you got any? What are your closing thoughts and feelings about Iron Man 3, man? It's the Christmas season. It's technically a Christmas movie. What are your final thoughts?
This shit came out in May, dog. No, I hate it. I hate this movie. I really hope that I never watch it again. It's so bad. It's the first big misstep of the MCU, and it's funny that we are and somewhat poetic that we're talking about it now, because it's just like back then it was like you couldn't imagine the MCU failing.
Yeah,
you couldn't imagine them stumbling. Whereas now, it's equally hard to imagine them coming out with something great or thought-provoking or even just at the bare bones. Like, it used to be that when the MCU would come out with what we called a bad movie, like a Guardians 2, where it's like, I went to the theater, I had fun, I turned my brain off, I watched it. There were characters in it that I liked. Everything didn't land with me, but I had fun. And that was the low, ladies and gentlemen. Now we go see a movie like that and we're like, oh, they didn't fuck it up.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that was kind of me and the Marvels. Like, I mean, we have different opinions about that movie, but I mean, it was nowhere near where my expectations were like, this is somehow going to be worse than Captain Marvel.
No, I see. I never thought it was going to be worse than Captain Marvel.
Well, because it's got Kamala in it.
Yes. Yeah. So, but I do feel like, man, if I had to grade on a curve, then man, like the whole metric of my scores for like the first three phases have to change.
Yeah.
So it makes it that much more difficult. But
yeah, it's really hard, man. Like just to think about all of that, but. Yeah, I mean, like we had way different opinions on that movie, but it's just like looking at it, I don't know. And then, we have Aquaman coming up next week.
Yep.
And none of us have. I gotta say though, I think the most recent trailer I saw for that, I really like his brother. Is it Orm?
Orm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he might be the standout in the movie.
I kind of had a feeling about that. Like he's I guess spoiler alert for the Homies War. He's one of the nominees for best support, along with Kamala Khan, Nebula, and some other people. Ask the committee. It's not me.
Spoilers. I'm going to vote for Kamala.
Yeah. I don't know if I should vote or not, but I thought that Nebula was really good in Guardians 3.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, they all did a good job.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Really excited about the Homies Awards, about doing that.
Yeah, same. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
And also, some point in the very near future, we're gonna do the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yes. We need to tell Oz and make sure he knows that.
Well, on New Year's Eve, we're not playing D&D. We're just gonna do a hangout.
Oh,
that day, like a maybe a drinking thing. So we could pop over here, do that,
right,
and then go get shwasted because we need to forget.
That's not a bad call.
Yeah,
I'd be so down for that.
Yeah, yeah. So just so you know, if you're sitting around New Year's Eve and you're like, I wonder what the homies are doing. We're getting fucked up.
Yeah, getting just straight riggedy wrecked.
Riggedy wrecked, son.
Well, I guess final thoughts here about Iron Man 3 for me. I think that this movie proved that that charisma and star power can only get a movie so far. There's only so much that even someone of RDJ's talent can do. And I feel like Shane Black was kind of... I'm not going to disrespect him and say that he was in over his depth, but I do think that he was the wrong person for this job. He had different goals and aspirations from what this movie needed. And, I'm all for a director having their own vision and not wanting to make a traditional superhero movie. James Mangold is not a fan of superhero movies, and he made one of the best ones ever, Logan. And so... I'm all for a director having their own vision, but that vision has to be something that is coherent and that leads somewhere and that has high stakes and not these superficial twists and just completely bastardizes what came before it. Iron Man 3 does so much of that in spades. So I struggle to find, and maybe this will be my last question to you, but I struggled to understand why so many people seem, or at least say, to like this movie. As much as I don't like Ragnarok, I do understand why people like it. They turn their brains off and they laugh. What is it about Iron Man 3 that you think some people seem to like and defend this movie so much?
I think that this movie was like I said earlier, this is the birth of the AAA subverting expectations, right? Mm-hmm. With where it became a trend and now a trope. And thankfully it's mostly over, but oh God, it's not clever at all, right? I think Game of Thrones bombing horribly turned most people away from that because if you remember, Dan and Dave had massive multi-million-dollar contracts with Netflix and with Disney. To make Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I want to say that they had was it DC or Fox or one of those also had approached them, and then Game of Thrones season 8 came out, and all that shit went away.
Yeah.
Just all faded away. And, same thing kind of with Taika Waititi, right? Like, it was all this stuff, and then he had that back-to-back massive failure with Love and Thunder, and then also that fucking soccer movie that was like an easy fucking feel-good movie to make, and he somehow botched that shit and it didn't make any money. So, yeah, I mean, it's this really kicked off that trend, and the critics at the time loved it for some reason. The same reason that like they so heavily loved Last Jedi, but like try to find an actual person in the wild that will defend either one of these movies today.
And that's the difficult part.
And right? I mean, even if they would have maybe then like, oh, I enjoyed it, whatever. Okay, well, it's hard for me to argue with that, but like, nobody is going to go out of their way to defend either of them because they're really just, these sauceless, fucking dripless, just things that happened. And now they're, now they have a tile on a streaming service somewhere.
Right.
On the same one, ironically enough. But yeah, I mean, that's really the thing that the only thing that I can come up with is like, okay, we were, 6 movies in at this point? We had Iron Man 1 and 2, we had Avengers, we had Thor, we had Cap.
And Hulk.
And Hulk. Yep. So we were 7 movies in, and they were like, okay, this, I guess, kind of doesn't feel like the other ones, or I don't know, man. I struggle to really be able to sit down and say, this is why you would love this movie.
Many blessings.
Yeah. I was like trying not to get the mic to get that, but that shit wasn't happening. Oh.
Yeah, and again, I'm with you on that, man. Like there's like I said, there's plenty of just movies in general that I don't like, but I can understand why other people do. Iron Man 3 for me is just not one of them, and for the life of me, until someone can sit me down and explain to me what it is they enjoy about this movie, I won't understand it. Like, I'll say this, for me, I think there are movies in the MCU that have worse moments in it than Iron Man 3, but I mean, as a whole, Iron Man 3 for me is kind of like the gold standard in terms of just bad superhero movies.
Yeah.
So,
it's awful. I mean, it's down there at the bottom of the barrel with the Love and Thunder, with Morbius, with Batman and Robin.
Is it like Morbius though? Morbius is awful, but that's like the awful where like I can watch that movie and just fucking laugh. Like,
yeah, like seriously?
Yeah.
I had a better time watching Morbius than I did any of my 3 viewings of Iron Man 3, especially the first one. Like the first time I watched this movie, I was fucking pissed.
Man, listen, Iron Man. As a matter of fact, someone that we mutually know at the time, we were in the back of a wrestling locker room. He had saw the movie before I did, and he said that the ending is kind of like there's a twist in there, but I liked it. It's kind of what he said. And I was like, okay, well, that kind of had me on my toes a little bit, and so I'm watching the movie, and it's kind of whatever. And it's not. By the way, it's not just the twist that ruins the movie. It's
everybody focuses on that.
Yeah,
but that's not even on the
right.
There's like 100 reasons this movie's god awful.
Yeah, like I said, it's the poor representation of like PTSD victims and like what they do, with that at the end of this movie. He's like, oh, I'm good now.
Yeah.
I guess Aldrich Killian had held the key to all of his PTSD. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the 40 plus minutes of no Iron Man in the middle of your goddamn Iron Man movie.
I mean, there's arguably no Iron Man at all.
Period. Yeah. And that's me being generous though. Yeah. It's like the time where like he's just not in a suit that doesn't get demolished. But yeah, there's plenty of things that are just so abhorrently wrong with this movie, and just just kind of from a narrative standpoint don't go anywhere. And so it was an interesting experiment in the MCU, and I think that maybe some people quickly forget about it because 2014 again was such a banger of a year for superhero movies.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for now, man. Iron Man 3, 10-year anniversary. Don't expect me to do this again for the 20-year anniversary.
Yeah, we do not. Yeah. This one is buried, folks. This is
right.
It.
Yeah,
this is done. I'm never watching this movie again.
I'm with you on that. Like, this is the last time I ever plan on viewing Iron Man 3 unless, like, Robert Downey Jr. wants to come over and watch it for some reason.
Yeah, I would watch it with him.
Right.
Or maybe, like, at the end of phase, Saga 2, at the end of phase 6, we were like, fuck it, let's watch the whole thing. And
I mean, even then, I feel like I would skip certain movies.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I know where you are on the list.
Yeah. I might just skip all of phase 4 and, or except for No Way Home,
And what if?
Oh, yeah. In terms of movies.
Oh, movies? Doctor Strange.
Yeah, yep. Doctor Strange 2. And
Doctor Strange 2, not to fucking squirrel us again here, but Doctor Strange 2 is just like it's just a result of the hype, right? Like,
it is. Yeah.
It's an expectations thing. Like, on paper and even on screen, it's not a bad movie. Like, there's some genuinely fucking great parts of the movie compared to the other stuff in Phase 4.
Yeah.
And now 5. Jesus Christ, is it a way better film.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, me and Kevin kind of parted ways on Doctor Strange 2. His whole thing was like he expected so much more from him. And I'm like, I agree with you, but putting that aside, the movie as it stands on its own, it's not a bad movie.
I remember he hated the music fight.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That was genius.
I also really enjoyed that part. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's totally a thing that would happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I just enjoy any kind of creativity like that. I enjoy, like, the giant fucking zombie cape or the zombie fucking
Cloak of Souls or whatever was fucking amazing.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And then again, Wanda as a villain, I thought she was a tremendous villain.
And if you want to know why we keep sidestepping and talking about other stuff, it's because we got to have something positive in this episode.
Right,
and we can't get that from Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. One more thing, and then we're going to leave for sure. Quick, favorite part of Iron Man 3. Go.
It's probably... It's the when he fucking murders the dude on the Air Force One, and then the fall scene after the rescue scene after. If you cut the movie off right before the semi truck hits the suit, you just stop it right there. You're like, that was a great ending.
That was great ending to the movie. Tony Stark won, saved the day.
Yeah.
Mine would be I would like to end the movie right before we get the Mandarin reveal, and. Because I think maybe my favorite part of the movie is from one of the Mandarin monologues, and he says the line that, like, I've never forgotten over all these years. You will never see me coming.
Yeah,
and like his delivery on that's just fucking chef's kiss.
All of it, but especially that. Yeah.
So but that's all we got for Iron Man 3. We watched it again so you guys wouldn't have to, and I know that most of you weren't even thinking about this goddamn movie until we brought it up. You're welcome. But that's going to be all for now. We will see you guys again really soon. Next week, Aquaman 2, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Yeah, that's what it is. And then the week after that, the Homies Award. So it's going to be a lot of good shit. And they're cramming in a lot at the end of the year between Aquaman 2 and then What If. And fuck both of those companies for putting out shit when they know it's Homies Award season right now.
Right? Yeah.
That's going to be all for now, but thank you guys again for listening in. We will see you guys again soon. But until then, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.